Welcome to Balder's Kitchen, where the magic's cooked up. This is guide number 8 now. So on this one, what I want to look at is attacks and armour, but I also want to draw your attention to the Expanding Fronts Wikipedia, which is full of useful information and statistics about the game. So, for example, this is the page for strike mechs. You know that early mech that you can send out to kill the opponent's workers and laser troopers. So for example, it gives you like all the unupgraded details, like it starts off with 80 hit points, it's got a range of 6, the reload time between shots is 1.75 seconds, which is a fairly quick reload time. Moves across the board at a speed of 1.5, which is fairly fast, a lot faster than laser troopers. They cost 50 food and 100 carbon each, and you can train them in 30 seconds. All this kind of information there on the right that you can look at and compare with the pages for other units to see how it compares. But this is the bit I wanted to focus on, because the understanding attacks and armour just requires a few brain cells. So just to explain it. So when, for example, a strike mech shoots one shot, okay, behind the scenes, that shot contains a whole load of attacks against different armor classes, and those attacks have different values, okay? So one shot with the strike mech, in fact, has lots of different types of attacks against armor classes within it, okay? Then defensively, okay, a unit, in this case a strike mech, will have different types of armor class, and it will have a different armor value for those kinds, right? So for your ideal unit, what you would want is the maximum number of different types of attacks against different armor classes, and the highest value to do the most damage against those armor classes. And defensively, you would want high armor values, but you would want as few types of armor class listed as possible, because it reduces the number of ways your unit can be attacked. Okay, so looking at the strike mech, when we look at the attacks, you'll notice that, for example, the attack against the trooper armor class is quite high, and that reflects the fact that you use strike mechs to attack troopers with. They're a very good counter for troopers, and likewise they still do well against mounted troopers, even though mounted troopers have more hit points, because a mounted trooper has the trooper armor class and the mounted trooper's armor class, so that's two kinds of attack that will hit a mounted trooper, whereas regular laser troopers don't have the mounted trooper armor class, they just have the trooper one. Okay, and then for the armor, likewise, just to see what's going on here, basically if a unit is attacking you and its attack attacks the heavy weapons armor class, right, the whole value of the attack will go through because you don't have any armor there. Whereas for attacks that are attacking the range armor class, you're going to be taking 5 off of that attack and taking that amount of damage. So being mechs, they've got quite good defense against range attacks. Yeah, and then similarly for the last 2. Okay, so hope you've understood that. Just remember, one shot from a strike mech contains all these different types of attacks against all these different armor classes. Okay, so let's just have a look at the mech destroyer. We'll just have a quick little look at it. Okay, so you know these guys are a bit bigger, they're great at attacking mechs, and they've got lots of hit points, and more or less similar armor to a strike mech. So on these guys, their one shot contains all these attacks against these different armor classes, and as you'd expect, they do the maximum damage, 20 points against assault machines, which are kind of like other mechs and that kind of thing. And that's reflecting the fact that you use them to attack other mechs, and also they're not too bad against pummels and cannons as well. Yeah. And then one more thing before we close this one down is sometimes you might get surprised. So for example, the Royal Crusader of the Naboo civilization, let's click on that. Okay, this is their unique unit, their fortress unit. Okay, it's basically a guy on a steed, isn't it? So, and it's classed as a mounted trooper, so you would think it's just a straight mounted trooper. But when you look at its armor classes, right, you'd almost be certain that it would have an armor class of a mounted trooper, but it doesn't in this case, and that's surprising. So what it means is, like, if you're being attacked by Mounties and you've got laser troopers, you can use the laser troopers to cut down the Mounties. But when you see like a Royal Crusader coming at you, you would automatically think, right, I'm going to be using laser troopers as well, right? But laser troopers won't do as much damage against a Royal Crusader because it doesn't have, surprisingly, the mounted trooper armor class that you would expect it to have, okay? So Royal Crusaders are actually fairly resistant against laser troopers, even though you might think that's the natural counter to them. I'll stop it there. Let me know if it makes sense. Also, if you want other things about me to describe other things about the game in particular, like you've got a favourite civ or something, send me a comment as well and I'll try and do a video on that for you. So let's close this down.